Hello and welcome to the Hypertrophy Odyssey, chapter 415. It is the second day of the week, aka the special beam cannon workout. I'm feeling very good right now, very excited for this workout. But anyway, to the main subject matter for today. Have sex, please, part 2. So the main reason why I wanted to discuss this is because of the fact that Japan recently released their birth rate data, and it should be alarming. Again, I talked about this previously, and the first part of this, have sex right here. Please. So I'm going to read out the number to you just so I have it established. Japan recorded 686,061 births in 2024. The lowest that they've ever recorded since they began in 1899. Huge issue. I've talked about it kind of broadly before, but I'm going to start attacking some of these things because this is an issue that is very undermined by a lot of stupid people. In my lifetime, there is a possibility where we are getting into 5-digit numbers of births in Japan. That is insane. We are talking about the possible extinction of the purely Japanese person in here. And there are people who will say other things that you could do, which we'll get to, like the possible solutions, because people are kind of stupid when it comes to that for some stupid, idiotic reason. But this is a major issue, and they are truly the canary in the coal mine for the rest of the first world, really. That is, for the most part, somewhat copying what they do. We are fucked, because if they're fucked, we're going to be fucked, but we'll get there later. I think a lot of people underestimate the idea that the Japanese could go extinct. And I know that sounds crazy, and obviously there are American Japanese people, but purely like from the motherland, born and raised with all of the traditions and everything else, Japanese is slowly getting smaller and smaller to the point where we should start worrying about this. This isn't like it's going to correct itself. It's had like a decade plus to correct itself, and it hasn't. And it's only going to get worse, as the population kind of balloons over into the section where there are more old people than young people. That's already happening, but it's going to get even worse, and then they're going to be held by a shoestring. Now, of course, I'm also hopeful that human ingenuity and also as well the fucking samurai spirit can come through, hopefully. But huge issue. So we're going to be looking today, particularly I'm going to look at Japan, because looking at that particular culture is interesting, to say the least, especially from an outsider world. I liked my time in Japan, but have to acknowledge many of the issues that they have over there. But with that being said, please let me know your thoughts and opinions about this one, or at least if you know about this or are interested in this, please let me know. Also, Korea is not far behind, so we'll touch upon that too probably. But with that being said, I will see you at Mother Base.
I also started this day off with squats, which are pretty good. But anyways, back to the main subject matter for today. Have Sex Please Part 2. So the main reason why I wanted to discuss this is because this was a staggering number to see, in particular when it comes to the Japanese population. Now, of course, there's going to be pushback on something like this because obviously there are multitudes of issues that come along with it. Just saying, culturally wise, we will get to in a second. But I think that this is the canary in the coal mine when it comes to issues in the first world. I think that they are probably the most quote unquote advanced of all of the first world countries that we have to deal with. They are the blueprint of what many other first world countries are doing. And the issue is, if they're not having any kids and they are probably at the forefront of many things that are happening in the first world, that can only mean the ramifications of that will be serious and dire as they keep amplifying as they go throughout the other first world countries, as well as it going to the second and third world as well, maybe, but we'll see about that. That's kind of a different story for a different day. But with it being in Japan, it's very very much a issue where there's a culmination of things that come together and make it so that it is a issue nonetheless. At the end of the day, the issue is a cultural issue. Unfortunately, Japan is a very weird society in a certain sense where they once were very samurai like. They had the strength and the honor of those that have come before them, where shame was something not to be scoffed at, where they would literally kill themselves if they had felt disgraced or they felt like they could no longer perform. It is something that has been lost in current society in Japan and now has been replaced with the work themselves to death cult, basically, that has taken over the business realm, where you have people literally working 12 plus hours a day and praying to God that they can take the last train home, or they're going to have to sleep at the subway station or right outside of it, of course. But that's just the type of culture that they have now become into, where there's like a weird combination of that as well as the over politeness in between the regular person, where they just are too polite. There's no going forward in a lot of stuff, which can cause a lot of issues, as if no one takes lead, then everybody is going to be saying sorry for eternity type of deal. It's like when you go down a hallway and you go in front of a person and then you do like the little shimmy dance. Imagine that before ever, really, with certain types of people there. And I'm not necessarily blaming like the culture alone or those types of things, but it is a sign that there are certain things about a culture that need to be addressed and or corrected before it becomes what is at the end state, which is what it is at now, which is that people aren't having kids. They're not going out to actually procreate or even meet people. They're just doing these things over and over again. And they have very interesting cultures, very weird. You can literally rent whoever you want. They have a whole bunch of subcultures like that. But at the same time, growing a family seems such a few and far between. I've seen a story where there's literally a village where they're literally replacing, like putting dolls everywhere because there's nobody there anymore. There are no children in the village anymore. And that is a sad state of affairs, but also fucking insane, because at a certain point, nobody's going to be there, and all that's left are going to be these houses with dolls in them. So you're going to get to that point where you have empty you have empty doll houses, basically, with a bunch of beautiful land that's there in order for people to be there, but the people are going to be missing, as well as it being an issue with Korea as well, where they're having their own cultural issues, where the men and women have been so divided between the two of themselves that they can't even come close to even trying to get into relationships, and they're also fucked, where they're seeing their population go down. And it's just such a sad sight to see, because I don't think that they truly understand that their population can dwindle to a point where it becomes an actual issue, where you might have to actually start looking at inbreeding, for the love of God. And this isn't me spouting for it, but we're getting into less than 500,000 new people that are Japanese born, like that is an insane thing. And who knows how many people it actually truly takes in order to preserve a culture and its full history. A lot of these people don't realize that a lot of the stuff that makes Japan is probably going to go away if a lot of the people that make Japan go away. So that's the issue with it. And I feel like when people realize that culturally something has to shift, it will be the change that will be needed. But I hope that they can come to the consensus in order to do something like that, because it is a very likely possibility that they might never actually get there, and they might never recover from this spiral downward. And for those who are saying, oh, we're dealing with overpopulation, blah 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 blah. Overpopulation is a myth, 100%, and I will do an episode on that, but that's for a different day, for a different episode.
And we're back. Welcome to the workout debriefing. Exercise is not filmed, none. Exercise is skipped, also none. Got everything in, thankfully. But anyways, back to the main subject matter for today. Have sex, please, part two. So the main reason why I wanted to discuss this is because, again, this is an issue that's just becoming more and more prominent regardless of where you're at, especially when seeing the divide in relationships that are happening nowadays, where people are just, we are living in a low trust society. See this video about that. And now people are less inclined into doing anything really. And it's getting kind of freaky out there. I think that the more and more as time progresses, it's like, yeah, I want to have kids. I hope to have kids. If I have some, who's going to be around with them? You know what I mean? Like, who are their friends? You know, there aren't that many people I'm seeing. Like, yeah, I have a few friends that are doing it, but that's one. That's it. There's one group, a couple of friends that we have that are also having kids currently, and that's it. Everybody else is, and certain situations make sense. You know, obviously certain people haven't found partners or whatever. Some people are just getting married, you know, all that other stuff. But still, it's kind of like all right, now we gotta have to start figuring this out, because after us, God knows if Gen Z is going to do anything, and I can't even blame them, because Gen Z got the shortest end of every single stick possible. They are truly fucked beyond belief, and they have no sympathy for the boomers at all. In fact, that's a whole other subject matter that I talked about right here. But I think that this is a massive issue that needs to be talked about way more often, and with way more reverence than we are giving it. I think that people shoo it away with stupidity or idiotic reasons, such as, oh, we can just meld other cultures into other people's cultures, or, you know, import other people to come populate the area, or, you know, send over the white guys to Japan to bang all the Asian girls. And it's like, that's not the point. The point is that you want to keep certain things and historic cultures the same realistically, and the only way to do that is to have people from there procreating. And because of that, or the lack of that, we are going to see a degradation of these types of societies. And like I said, Japan is only the canary in the coal mine. I can only imagine that more and more first world places are going to go down this same rabbit hole as things progressively get worse and worse, to the point where I'm starting to think that the movie Children of Men, which if you haven't seen, please see it. It's great. It was just a documentary about the future. It wasn't even really like a fictional movie. We are going to get to that point, I feel like, where we're going to have to start looking at like the one person that's pregnant or the last child of the world, you know, like, I know that sounds post-apocalyptic, and I probably think that realistically we are going to course correct before we do that, but it just seems such like an inevitability at this point. It's kind of scary in a certain sense, but I do believe in the ingenuity and the white pilling of the entire world, and certain scenarios such as this, where we will put our foot down and say, no, we are going to continue to procreate and continue this rock, continue living on this rock that we call Earth, because I feel like a lot of people have lost that meaning. And that's what I meant at the beginning of this video when I meant the Japanese spirit, when I talked about that briefly, the samurai warrior, because I think that that needs to really come back into the fold of the Japanese person, as they have really gotten away from that, understandably so. Getting a nuke dropped on you kind of changes everything, right? But still, it's kind of like a warrior's mentality that has been completely squashed and bastardized to the point where animes don't even show it anymore, you know, that they have been long gone. Maybe even people that want to do something that is like that in an anime is very few and far between nowadays. They have to, you know, sensationalize it with other things like demons or something like that. But that's the entire point, really, is that a return to form or a return to the past have to go through in order for them to continue on and hopefully get out through the other side, at least with an upward tick of something. Because if they don't try something, things are just going to get to the point where you're going to have 5-digit births. I mean, I know that sounds like a lot, but that's under 100K. That's nothing. That's not much. God forbid if they get into 4-digit numbers. That's less than 10K. That's an insane amount of people that are just being born every year. And who knows? That number is going ever so down. It's not even, it's about to get to the 500,000 people at relatively soon. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully there's a bounce back. But I just hope that something awakens upon the collective unconscious amongst Japanese people to realize, hey, we got to do something or we're fucked. And I really hope something can tick. And it's not just them, but I really do think that hope all of society just kind of goes, no, and just something ticks into them where there is a big change that can happen. But that change will have to be a subconscious one that happens throughout all of the world, but we'll see how that goes. But with that being said, tell me what you think in the comment section down below. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions about this one. Please leave a comment at your thoughts because, you know, this is Japan, but if you see this everywhere, please let me know. If you've seen this anywhere or you see anything like it, please let me know in other parts of the world too. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video with anybody who may or may not like it. I will be back on tomorrow with a new video. Thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I will see you in the next one. Keep it heavy. Stay safe out there. Stay warm. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.